Hello everybody, and welcome back to Lagoon. As promised, we're going to actually go up and face a boss. Now, Lagoon's bosses have a bit of the troubles. Not just because of the difficulties imposed by your character's attack range, as you can see there, but also because very often in Lagoon, you'll reach a level where you can very easily deal with the normal monsters in the dungeon. However, in many cases, the boss will actually require you to be around 2 or 3 levels above that level. This is very pronounced in both the first and second dungeons especially, which is why I decide to grind off camera to a much better level for fighting Samson. By the way, it's not just enough to have the key to open a locked door in your inventory, it has to be set as your use item. Okay, Samson! Much like Giles, Samson has weak ankles. It's pretty difficult to stay in attack range because, well, he'll hit you with an axe and grow an eyeball. But if you're at the right level, you can pretty easily deal with them if you mind your range. That fire crystal can't do anything for us yet. It will be doing plenty for us soon. In any case, this, first off, this cave collapse doesn't happen in the original version, because there's actually a quest still associated with Atland in the Sharp version. Second, the problem with bosses is compounded by the fact that not all level gains are created equal in Lagoon. They're kind of like level gains in Earthbound in that way. In this game, sometimes a level will give you an extra 4 attack power, and other times it will give you an extra 10 or even 21. Just fight a little defensively there. Gain a level. Okay, Volo. Normally one can't just stroll in here. In the original version, you actually had to get some bread from the family bakery in order to give to the guard out front. Oh yeah, that blonde guy in the armor? That's Thor, but he's not important right now. Okay. I won't be buying anything here, but I had to show off the shiny ball. What the shiny ball does is increase your regeneration rate in dungeons to the same as it is in towns. Somehow I think this was not translated right. Okay. Magic is derived from a combination of crystals and stabs, and there are 4 of each, meaning there are 16 potential types of magic, and 3 that are actually any good. So, the thing about the shiny ball is that it costs a ridiculous amount of gold. By the time you actually reach a place where you could realistically grind for the gold needed to get the shiny ball, you will have probably passed at least one point of no return where you can't actually return to Volo and buy it. Someone actually did grind for the shiny ball around here, and when they were done, they had actually reached level 28. To give you an idea of how ridiculous that is, the level cap in this game is 35, and you can fairly comfortably finish the game at level 32. Now, I'm saving here for a very specific reason, which would be that. You see, the game is very willing to let you fall to your doom. However, you can't fall to your doom off of just any cliff. It has to be something you can jump over. Okay, there's the tablet from the castle site, and the tablet of hope. I hope that this game doesn't kill my mic. That would just be embarrassing. I went to the castle first for a very specific reason, involving the gaining of the other tablets. I swear, those things get bigger every year. Bigger and more armor-piercing. Yeah, each magic has its own set attack power. It's not derived from any stat values Nasir has. Thor does not actually show up here in the original version. In fact, he doesn't show up until a little ways in. In any case, Thor moves like Giles does for some reason. However, he will not follow you here. He'll just go off and get the tablet on his own. However, the introduction of another, mobile sprite in this area causes the game to lag significantly. There's only so much one Lagoon can handle. Now, you might be thinking, well, magic is powerful. Bosses will be much more interesting. No. Remember how the guy said that there are some places where you can't use magic? Those some places are boss fights. You are stuck with your sword for boss fights. Once Thor is stopped, by the way. Tablet of Wish, huh? I wish this was a better game. Well, forget that then. In any case, the reason that I got the Philip's Castle tablet first is because Thor will actually continue to follow you until you've actually gotten all of the tablets. So you actually have to wait for him to stroll to the proper distance for you when you're wandering around Philip's Castle. And the less time spent escorting something slow-moving, the better. And then he teleports away. So now we can actually enter Philip's Castle. Now, Philip's Castle has problems. The thing is, the port actually changed a few things. Well, aside from adding Thor... Yeah, I should probably talk about that. Thor is not there in the Sharp version, but Matthias is to give you the skinny on Philip's Castle. And Zara is also there, probably just to taunt you. So anyway, Philip's Castle. In this version, they should have changed the layout because Philip's Castle is huge and sprawling and has a lot of unused rooms for no reason. The thing is, in the Sharp version, a lot of the rooms were used because the elves, instead of all being in one room in the basement, were actually scattered throughout the whole castle, plus the prison key was on the roof. By the way, you may have seen earlier that that knight just took my damage, my fireball, no problem. Yeah, there are some enemies that are immune to certain magics. I'm gonna shove this guy around. I think I was trying to find my attack button. But Philip's Castle still has quite a bit to loot anyway. First, the Key of Prison. You know, that's just an item name that screams direct translation. So yeah, the elves were scattered all around this castle, plus you had to find Nasir's sister who had followed him here. All kinds of other stuff that was removed from this version, but they kept the layout exactly the same. Doesn't look like a passage, but it is, and it's one you should take a look into. Gonna roast this guy first. Because it has the gold armor. Yeah, that's right, Nasir palette swaps when he equips a new armor. His cloak changes, his armor color changes. That's pretty cool stuff. That's also anything necessary we need to get from the ground floor. Okay, that little pause was because I was referencing the map to make sure that I didn't get too hilariously lost. Again, Philip's Castle is huge and sprawling for no good reason anymore. A lot of the later dungeons are much more sensibly designed. Probably because they didn't change what you had to do too much in the other dungeons in Lagoon. Philip's Castle saw the biggest changes out of all of them. Okay, each floor of the castle has different monsters to deal with, including the first monsters that shoot at you. I'm not quite sure how you're supposed to deal with them in the Sharp version. I know they did shoot, but in the Sharp version, Nasir couldn't attack while jumping, so that limited the options to deal with them fairly severely. By the way, speaking of Earthbound, I would like to extend my sympathies to any European viewers that I might have. You know, because you got this, but not Earthbound. Well, at least not till last year. At least not officially until last year, anyways. I'm sure people who wanted Earthbound that bad found ways to get it if they really, really wanted it. In case, it's not that much farther until I find the prison cell. Yeah, that's what I was fearing. Because of its size and relative lack of events, Phillips Castle is probably the single most dull dungeon in the game. But we've found the elves. We will be meeting that strange woman in the next dungeon after this one. But here, have the movable mantle. And off they go. Now, you can actually go back to Volo and talk to the elves you rescued, but all they really have to say is thanks, oh, and by the way, you need to beat the boss of Phillips Castle in order to move on, which is, you know, a real big shocker. Nasir's mission is not a sneaking mission. It's a get shot by fireballs mission. Well, this gives me room to talk about the magics more. Okay, so there are 16 magics you can get because there are 4 staves and 4 crystals. In the original Lagoon, it worked differently because it was actually a function of the staff combined with what sword you had equipped. And certain staves only worked with certain swords and so on. However, the bigger magics are actually not all that useful in Lagoon, because they consume a whole lot of MP and they don't usually do that damage that makes the cost worthwhile, and you're never really all that swarmed out by enemies in Lagoon anyway. At most, you'll probably encounter 3 enemies on the screen at once. And even that is a rarity. So as 3 of the magics are the only ones that are really worth much for the purposes of playing through Lagoon, there will be a point where magic will be completely useless to us because magics again have a set attack power and aren't derived from Nasir's stats, unlike, say, Adol's fireballs in East 2. which is rather unfortunate. Because I do like the idea they came up with for both this port and the original, it's just that the execution fell short. About as short as Nasir's sword, but moving on. Okay, we are level 8 now, and for the boss we're actually going to want to be about level 12, because the boss of Philip's Castle is the second most jerk boss in Lagoon. Unless you use some very specific tricks, the very best way to actually fight Nutella is to just out-level, which is quite doable, even with the experience that the enemies give here. The door to the roof of Philip's Castle is actually on the furthest north of the ground floor. It's pretty much impossible to get here without finding the basement first and, you know, getting wrecked by these guys. Now, it's actually quite possible to get lost or think you've gotten lost up here. It does, however, give these cloud enemies. Now, those fireballs didn't work because they're magic immune. They're just completely immune when they're, you know, sparking up like that. The enemies here aren't too threatening like the ones on the ground floor. None of them shoot or have any weird tricks or anything like that. Now, I'm going to apologize for this next part because this is where I thought I had gone the wrong way. Oh well. Not much can be done about that. However, there is also an essential treasure here that one pretty much has to get before fighting the boss. And it will be coming up fairly soon. Let's see, 2... 3. And in here, the large shield. And yes, Nasir's shield sprite changes when you equip a new shield, too. Anyway, I had thought of going a bit further, but decided that I had, you know, really just spent enough time on Philip's Castle so far. So next time, we will take on the Phillips Castle boss and move on. See you then. Bye.